I surveyed everyone I know in the Boise area and asked them one question. What do you think sucks about living in Boise? This way I can share with you an unbiased and broad spectrum opinion of what the people in Boise don't like about living here, an honest survey of people who actually live here. That way you can be ready for the true cons of living in Boise and decide if Boise will be right for you. So let's go over the survey results, talk about the responses, and give you insights into each of them so you can see if Boise is going to be great for your family. My name is Brady Fagel, and I'm a Boise local and a real estate agent. Comment below or shoot me a text if you have any questions. But let's jump into the responses from people who live in Boise. Some of the people who responded are lifelong locals, and some moved here a couple of years ago from places like California. And I asked about 50 people to send me a list of everything that they don't like about Boise. 26 of them responded, which I guess means I have 24 less friends now. And there was a wide range of responses, and we will go through all of them. And then at the end, I will go over the number one response, where 15 of the 26 people all said this one thing, which is by far the farthest response rate. But the number two reason was actually politics. 6 people said that the liberal politics in the Boise area was on their list of things that they don't like about Boise. Now, I talk about this, and politics are always a funny topic that get people kind of riled up, but these are things that people want or even need to know. Many of you are moving to a new place purely because of politics, whether that's where you're coming from or you're looking for just a different political environment. And the conservative community of Idaho is what draws many of you people here. So let's clarify some points and talk about why people responded with this answer. I'll read you one of the responses. The north end of Boise has also become very left-wing. The regular pride flags and celebrations downtown may be signaling a growing shift to the left. Now, as you saw, only 6 out of the 26 people responded with a similar answer to this, and of those 6 responses, most of them specifically talked about it being in the city of Boise, not the suburbs, which I think I agree is true. Boise has had a growing liberal community and is a negative for a lot of people who live here. Now, obviously, if you are looking for conservative politics and policies, then this can be a major con of Boise. But for those of you who are liberal or don't care, it is not going to be an issue, which is why other people did not have it on their list in the responses. The consensus with the people who responded is that people want Boise and Idaho to kind of remain a great place to live. They want people to understand that people moved here for a reason, so let's help keep it that way. And the other side of this is that Boise is not going to be an LA or a Portland. It is mostly an increase in what we just took a look at, and there are still very conservative communities in Boise, especially in the suburbs. So if this is something that is important to you, look more into it, ask questions, and also know that Boise is still going to be a great place to raise a family and find political relief, and especially in a lot of the suburbs. And then another question that I get a lot is it going to be a Portland or even a Denver in the short term? And my answer is, what I think is going to happen is that if that does happen, which is not likely, it wouldn't be for another 20 years. And it's nothing crazy yet. It's just something for you guys to know about. But before we go into the rest of the responses, again, my name is Brady Fagel, and I am a real estate agent. So if you are thinking of moving to Idaho, whether that's next week or next year, text or call me anytime. Even if you just have a question or questions, I make these videos to help you learn the areas and help make the best decision for you and your family. And I thank you for watching them. Hit the subscribe button. It helps me out and it helps you not miss any videos. And if you do decide to reach out to me, know that I will be the one showing you around, and you will be working with me, not any other agents or team members. If you trust me enough to reach out, then I should be the one working with you. Now back to the survey, which this next response was very interesting to me. I did not expect this one, and it was the lack of food options. Personally, I feel there are plenty of food options, but maybe I'm just not a foodie like other people. but 5 people said that one of their least favorite things about Boise was the lack of food, and then specifically the food diversity. So as you can see from a couple of these responses that I'll have pop up, it was 2 main categories. There's a lack of a lot of the Asian foods, Korean and Chinese food restaurants, and then there isn't as many larger bars and restaurants like you might find at some of the barbecue places and bars in Texas. You can also see that Boise has great burgers and pizza and steakhouses, which is extremely true. We have amazing burger places like Wild Child, which is one of my personal favorites, and then we have a ton of pizza places all over. A lot of them are very good. They may not be like a New York or a Chicago pizza, but we still have great pizza places. And then there's dozens of breweries with good food. But for those of you who are foodies, which apparently I'm not, now you know other foodies that live in Boise are disappointed in the food scene here. The next response is a little all over the place with some of the responses I got, and they all kind of boiled down to one category, and that is the city planning. This response was very insightful, I thought, and it was that it is how weird it is that when new commercial properties are developed, it is often the same businesses, credit unions, dental offices, pizza places, and small chains. And I hadn't really thought about it until I read this response from somebody and realized just how many credit unions and dental offices and small chain pizza places pop up everywhere. And then the other side of this is the street and general planning, which other people had mentioned, and that is because Boise has grown very fast and the city has not kept up or planned ahead. There's constantly construction and blockages because of all of this growth. And then for whatever reason, there are roundabouts on every corner. That seems to be Boise's solution to the growth. I have no clue why, but roundabouts apparently solve their problems, even though it doesn't really seem like it when you live here. Either way, the commercial planning was third on the list. And then the next highest response was something that I definitely agree with and is a problem everywhere really, but it is especially an issue in Boise within the last 5 years, and it is the affordability, specifically the housing. 5 years ago, Boise was a place that was extremely affordable and made it very attractive for people, and that's why a ton of people moved here. But with all of the growth, it has brought the median home value up $200,000 more, up to around 450 is where it hovers depending on which suburb. And for those of you in Seattle or LA or San Francisco, San Diego, Portland, housing is still extremely, or at least is affordable in Boise. And so this part only pushed out people from places like Texas or smaller markets where Boise is actually more expensive now. But the major issue is for those of you that have to find a job in Boise or might in the future have to get a job here, home prices have gone up 50%, whereas income here has only really gone up about 10% in the last 5 years. And I can't remember where I saw it, but if you take the median home value or the median income into account, Boise is technically one of the least affordable places in the country. And I don't think this is, of course, including the money you save in utilities and taxes and everything else that comes with the cost of Boise. The next highest response rate is public transportation. This is a little obvious, but there was also a response I liked that is very different when it comes to the transport here. And the obvious side of this is Boise does not have any railways and it lacks a bus system. We have bus routes, but it is definitely lacking. And the interesting side was this response, quote, "Our public system sucks ass." And so excuse the language, but he brought up the point of using the existing railways through Boise, which is more of the interesting part, but I thought I got a laugh out of his response. And then also creating more bike paths through town. There are a ton of people here who ride bikes, and the Greenbelt along the river has some amazing biking access, but Boise could definitely take a look at building out better biking systems to kind of increase that free transportation options. And this is especially, and it's more centralized to the city of Boise for those of you who are moving here, who are used to city transportation and living in a bigger city. If you live in the suburbs, it's not really going to be a thing with the public transportation because of, the neighborhoods and the spread out grocery stores and everything else. But this is more particular to the city of Boise and especially around the downtown area. The next one is something that I think is a little bit more important, And when people think of Idaho, they think of mountains and forests. And when you learn about Boise being called the city of trees, you think it's a big, beautiful forest, especially when you see some of the drone shots in these videos. But the next con with the most responses was how much of a desert Boise is. When you drive into Boise, you will notice that there's absolutely nothing but flat sagebrush if you're coming up from Salt Lake. And don't get me wrong, Boise and Idaho are beautiful. You have the Boise River, and most of the older neighborhoods are covered in trees, but everything else is a complete desert. And this is a big con of Kuna and the Nampa area, and then even Caldwell. When you live in the southern part of the valley, and that's below I-84, there isn't a river to support all of the trees, so it is very flat and barren, versus the northern sections like Eagle, Star, and Middleton, where you have miles of trees, and every neighborhood is a canopy because of the Boise River. But this response is definitely a common one that I hear, and people don't expect how barren it is here, and it's something people don't like about Boise. The next one is something that I personally would love, but I never thought it would be something people would say as much as they did, but I got plenty of responses with this. And that is the lack of sports. Boise has a semi-pro hockey team called the Steelheads, and then we have BSU, Boise State football, but people here want more sports and entertainment. And apparently it's a big enough con that they felt they should respond with that. Because we don't have the pro sports teams, like Salt Lake or Dallas or any of the major cities, Houston. So hopefully soon we can get some more entertainment on the sports front. Now, the rest of the responses, other than the number one response by far, were all one-off responses. So I'm going to touch on a few of them that were important. The first of those being that people hate the smoke here. Only 2 people responded with this, which I was actually really surprised by. I've had people wanting to move to Boise, and then they visited during the smoky season in the summer, and it completely changed their mind. This year was a really bad year. We had almost a month straight of bad air quality alerts and no visibility. That's less common, but usually, we have at least a week every year where we're filled with smoke in the valley. And then I'll just rattle off the next few. Someone said that they don't like how people in Boise hate on Californians moving here, which I get. Sometimes people don't like Californians moving here, and that can actually be annoying for people who live here. They just want people to just have them come and not it be a huge problem. And then on the opposite side of this, someone said there is too many Californians in Boise now. And so that's obviously a common one. So you get both sides of the coin there. Another one that goes along with the smoke is how hot Boise is. We usually are 95 to 100 degrees for most of July, and it varies every year. People don't necessarily expect that in Idaho. Another response was that Idaho state income tax, which is 5.8%, they said they wished Idaho would follow suit with places like Tennessee and remove that state income tax and follow suit. But the number one response by far was the traffic in Boise. 15 of the 26 felt strongly enough to have it on the list. And when the second highest response rate was 6, you can see how much of a problem it is here for people who live here. And it comes down to Boise growing faster than they have kept up with the roads, creating traffic problems even in the smallest suburbs. Kuna is probably the least traffic, and they've prepared the best for the growth that we've seen. But everywhere else, you will have more traffic than you would expect moving here. And then speaking of suburbs, this is the most important part of your move to Boise. So if you felt all of these things are going to be fine with you, that you can deal with them, then it's a must to watch this video going through every suburb in Boise, and then I rank them from A to F and give you insights on each of them. Thank you guys for watching. I look forward to meeting you in person.